Wonderful. Welcome everybody to our third team call based on the message of building doTERRA. Why build it and what does it really take? That's really what we're trying to dive into and understand. And we're so blessed to have Justin Lee with us tonight. And before I introduce him, I just want to remind you all that I am doing Diamond Club. I'm excited to reach out to you in your areas. If that's something you want, please reach out to me so I can come and support you and help give you just some on-the-ground love and support and hopefully help just encourage you in doing the wonderful practical real-life activities that help build this business. So we are also getting close to convention, and so if any of you are still thinking about that, please reach out to me. We have a couple of tickets that have been floating around that would love a home. So thank you again for showing up tonight and participating in this. And without much more, I'm not going to say much more on my end. Do stay tuned for the giveaways at the end. We have 3 wonderful giveaways this evening. Each week we've been up in the ante a little bit. So I'm thankful for those of you that are repeat attendees and team members. You get double entry. So I am working that out for you all as you jump on tonight. Last week we had Justin's brother and his wife, John and Caroline, were on, and they had some wonderful tips for us and some wonderful insight into how to build the business by consistently doing the right things to help just build over time. And I love that their story is one that isn't necessarily, it's just very steady and consistent and moving through those normal pathways and roadblocks that a lot of us face. And so I hope it gave you all a sense of encouragement, because we each one of us has the capacity to build this business and to become leaders if we allow ourselves to grow through our own personal roadblocks. And there's no one better, in my opinion, than helping us do that than Justin. Justin has, even unbeknownst to him probably, I mean, I know he reaches out and touches thousands of people, but at a time when I was feeling a real just void in mentoring and support in the way that I needed it. And again, not because of my upline not being there or anything like that, but just simply because I was up against some challenges that I couldn't move through. Justin stepped in and filled that void for me. And so I'm really excited to have him go ahead and dive in and join us. So let's see. Just going to mute.
We're excited to share some of the things that we've learned over the last 3 years.
There we go. Had a little bit of noise on the line there. So I'm really excited to welcome Justin. He is a loving father, and he is a successful businessman. And I know that he recently has spent time in Portugal building not only the doTERRA business there, but working with his church to help reach out in new ways. So Justin, thank you for coming on the call tonight. And I give you the floor and invite you to go ahead and begin by sharing your story with us.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the invitation, Chantal. Are you hearing me just fine?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I sure appreciate this invitation, and I appreciated hearing from you when I came back to the U.S. The last time we spoke was probably about 2.5 years ago before we went to Portugal. And so coming back and reaching out just kind of bookended that experience for me. And so it's good to be reconnecting with you and your team. I'm really happy to drag myself back from Europe, what's left of me, and to sort of share some of the lessons learned and where we are in doTERRA. My wife was at the very first convention, which really wasn't a convention. It was like 300 people in a room. It was very much like an event that you've seen your upline do. It was just really simple. There was no special effects and no big screens. I didn't go. I didn't even care. I don't even think she told me about it. She just told me she was going to go to Utah and visit some people. We're from Colorado. I think she told me she was going to this convention, but it was really, she wasn't super excited about the convention or whatever. So while she was there, she just really developed a why for the oils. She had always been using essential oils. Her belief in using the product increased a lot. And so she started doing auto ship. And if she hadn't done auto ship, I would have never known she was doing doTERRA, because on the bathroom countertop, there were, 3 little bottles of oil. And after another month, there were 6 little bottles of oil. And after another month, there were 9 bottles of oil. And that got my attention. I was like, what are you doing? This stuff, what is this? There's no room for my toothpaste anymore. And so she had to tell me that she was, how she said it was, this is what I remember. It was so funny. She had this all prepared beforehand. So she put her hands up, like don't arrest me. And she goes, I'm buying them the cheapest way possible. I'm getting really big discounts. And I just looked at her and I said, you've joined like one of the fun things, haven't you? And she said, I'm doing it just for the product. I think I rolled my eyes and walked away, So it went on for a couple more months, and there was oils everywhere now on all the countertops in the kitchen and the kids' bathroom, whatever. And she invited Natalie Goddard. They're good friends. This is way back in the beginning. There were like no U.S. founders yet. And so the owners were really pushing everybody who was buying or using to share the oils. And it was really just the owners, there were no systems, nothing. Anyways, Tana wanted to start sharing because Natalie was inviting her to share. I don't know exactly what Natalie said, but she basically said that, Tana, you would do good at this. This is going to be really good. I'll help you. I'll come out and teach your first classes so you know what to say. And they were off to the races. So Natalie visited. Tana started working 2 weeks later. She took 2 weeks between Natalie's visit to have a baby. So we had our 4th baby, and with a week-old baby that she would kind of tote around to these classes, she started working like crazy. And I was supportive as long as it didn't bother me. I'm a veteran, and the deployment to Iraq had left me pretty hardened and not as sensitive or communicative maybe as I had been in times past. And I always knew that my wife was super talented and could do anything that she set her mind to. And I was kind of excited for her to find out, for her to see the results of her own work. And so I was relatively supportive until it started affecting my life. Like, she wasn't around, there was no dinner. I had to, I called it babysitting. I was tending my own kids, and I've been told many times that watching your own kids is not babysitting. But I always had traveling jobs. I was never home. And so me taking care of my own kids was really, really infrequent, because if I was home, then we were all together as a family. So the next year, I actually, took care of my own kids for like 5 days straight. And that was a huge jump for me. And I did that on purpose so that my wife could go do doTERRA, not because I believed in the company. I did not believe in the product, but I did it so that I could kind of be a better person and be the kind of husband that you should be, because you should be able to watch your own kids, but I wasn't capable of it. I was never home. I didn't know where anything was in the house, and I had no idea how to take care of my own children. So 5 days, nobody died. And I think I did a load of laundry. Like, I left it in the washer for 3 days, then did it again, and then got it into the dryer by the time she came home, something like that. I was really rough. Like, I was out of practice, but I wanted to be better. And the number one thing that most husbands have forgot is that they're more capable than they've had to be. And they're more capable sometimes than they believe they are. And so I believe that about myself, but it was hard. It was hard to do these weird things, like basically being the mom. I thought that was really difficult. Anyways, after doing it once or twice, it wasn't hard anymore. And so then the real stuff started happening, the harder stuff. My wife won 2 tickets to the first cruise doTERRA ever did. And we'd never been on a cruise. So imagine this was a great big ship, but there was 40 doTERRA people. That was all the people that qualified to go on the trip. There was 40 people. And Dr. Hill and Emily Wright came with their spouses. And we got them all to ourselves. In fact, there was bad weather for 2 days, and so they canceled one of the islands to visit. And we just did oil training classes all day long. And that was good for me because I didn't have a big belief in the product. And as I gained the belief in the product and tried things because of the cruise, by the end of the cruise, I was committing to myself and to other people. Like I told Justin Harrison, I'm going to quit my job this year and I'm going to do doTERRA. And they all, I don't know what they thought, but I was a vice president in a large construction company in Colorado Springs, which is hometown. And we had a great income and it was a great job. I was extremely happy there, but there was more. I wanted some more freedom, and I wanted to see if I could be successful in doTERRA. The cruise had convinced me that doTERRA would be successful and that my wife would be successful. So the problem was, it was me. And I went to work. That's basically my story. I went to work in the first Diamond Club, and Diamond Club is very, very good. I'm really glad that Chantal's going to do Diamond Club, because not only does it encourage the right kind of activity anyways, but it also helps you get through the learning curve. Some of you have maybe not taught very many classes, or maybe you are intimidated about teaching a large class or something like that. I would highly encourage you to qualify for and then participate in Diamond Club, because in order to stay in with the 18 enrollments a month, you've got to get over those kind of things. For me, I felt like in 4 months from now, I will know how to teach classes. I will know about the oils. And if I didn't have Diamond Club to sort of motivate me, it would have been a lot harder to get out the door. And I've seen lots of husbands who have, come home and they've tried to help their wives in doTERRA. And these husbands didn't go do classes, and they didn't really do the kinds of behaviors that we expect builders to do. And those husbands have never become independent in the business. They're not capable of teaching classes. They're not capable of going and doing a meeting and supporting people, because they don't really do what the people need to do. I would never teach someone to share the oils and to encourage people to be builders in doTERRA unless I was doing that myself. So it was very important for me to learn how to do it, but it was intimidating and I was nervous, and I really screwed up those first classes bad. And my wife was with me for the first 3, and she corrected me in front of people, which was, really enjoyable. And I got over it and kept going. But after those 3 or 4 classes, I was teaching them on my own, and my wife and I don't teach together very much anymore. We did it a couple times in Portugal. So I'm telling you about the very beginning, because the beginning is really important. There's certain steps that people have to take, and you're familiar with this. You have to learn about the product to become a user. You have to. It doesn't matter what tool you use. It doesn't matter how you do that. It does not matter what you do, as long as you can take a person who doesn't use essential oils and get them using it. You have to do that. They can never be a builder unless they're using oils. Sometimes I have builders who are struggling, and I ask them, how much product are you using? And they're like, I don't use anything. I was like, bingo, that's your problem right there. The best builders in doTERRA are super passionate about the products, and they use the products all the time. Okay. So it is like the bottom of the foundation to the house. And I like foundations. That's a construction thing. So you got to have a foundation. Using the product is a foundation. I want you to think of people on your team who would be great. See, every month you guys have probably enrolled some people who were awesome, but who have never caught fire. And I want to ask you, are they really users yet? You've enrolled people this is the follow-up basically. Have you done follow-up to the enrollment to get them to be a user? If you haven't, and you're wondering why they don't want to do the business, go back and get them using the supplements, get them educated on all the other products, get them some in-depth education about which oils and which products for what they're dealing with, and you'll see some changes taking place because now they're capable of sharing, okay? So you go from user to sharing to building to leading. So user, sharer, builder, leader. And there's different sort of transformations along each of those steps or each of those levels. And that's what everybody takes. Like I say, it doesn't matter what tool you use. And especially if you are a little nervous that you like a different tool than what your upline is using and you don't know how to do that, or if you have people on your downline in your team who want to use some different tools, it doesn't matter what tool they use as long as people are taking those steps. So don't stress about that, okay? Now, you have to learn how to help people take those steps, to make those steps from user, sharer, builder, leader. Okay, you have to do that. And the step from builder to leader is tough. This is really what this topic today, build doTERRA, what it takes, why it's worth it, talking about personal development. In doTERRA, the compensation plan is designed to reward the best leaders with the most money. Period. And so if the compensation plan is not rewarding you the way you like, it very well may be that there is a leadership deficit or deficiency in what you're doing. Now, at the stage where you don't have a big team, the leadership deficiency might just be activity, enrolling people. Because a leader works, a leader does the things that they want everybody else to do. But if you have a team, if there's some people that you who want to do the business with you, then you are really at the location where you're invited to study leadership, to educate yourself as much as possible about that topic of leadership. And you can never know it too well. There's nobody who can study this good enough. In other words, you can never be a good enough leader. You can just be better. And I'm certainly not good enough. I have lots of failings. Communication is a big failing for me. And that's okay. It's one of those topics where we all just have to keep learning and keep becoming a better leader. So as you approach your personal development, there's some questions that I want you to ask yourself. One of those questions is, are people attracted to me? And I'm not necessarily saying about the business, but it does show up that way. But do people want to be around you? Do people want to talk with you? Do they find you interesting? And do you feel like people are attracted to you just because of your personality or because of how you make them feel? The best leaders, and especially the ones who are the most successful at doTERRA, I'm talking like more successful than me, they are very, very good at creating an atmosphere around them that welcomes people and that honors people's individuality, respects them where they are, no matter if they're doing the business or not. An atmosphere that's interested in the diversity that you find in everybody around you, and truly just lifts up or magnifies the good in other people. When you do that, people want to be around you more. That's like a great leadership trait, to believe and other people's goodness, and believe in their best traits, even maybe when they don't believe it in themselves. And the more you do that, the more success you will have. I think of some of the best leaders in doTERRA, and they have been able to do that for me and for my team and for other people nonstop. They believe in your goodness and in your best traits and qualities to the point that it lifts you from where you are to where you need to be. Now, the other thing, when you think about personal development, is we just talked about are people attracted to you. The other thing I want you to evaluate and to gain some perspective on your own life is when you do personal development, and I'm doing those quote things with my fingers in the air. I don't know how to show you that. Yep, there you go, Coral. You're doing it just right. So, yep. So when you do personal development, is your life changing? Are you believing things differently? Are you taking in things that are then changing how your life is growing or developing? And you may need to look around for some different kinds of books or different kinds of videos and ask yourself, am I just doing this to check the box? Am I just listening or reading to this so I can check the box? Or am I actively incorporating these new thoughts into my life? Because if you're actively incorporating them to your life, then you are doing personal development. Just listening is good. Just reading is good. You'll get something from it. But it's going to take you a long time, and you may get too tired along the way if you aren't aggressively adding into your life new and better ways of thinking. Because as you do doTERRA, you will encounter challenges. And the reason we talk about personal development is we like to say how anybody can be successful in this, and it is true. Anybody can. But not doing and thinking the way that you were in the beginning. Because if you already knew and already lived what was necessary to be successful in doTERRA, you would be super successful at something already. And many of you are super successful at something. I'm not trying to say that you aren't. I had some success in construction, but there were a lot of things I needed to change about my approach to abundance, to finances, definitely to social settings, and the ability to influence other people. One of my most common thoughts in the beginning was, other people's problems are other people's problems. I do not care. And that's how I lived my life. In my profession, people were the problem, and we always solved it by firing them and getting different people. And that was not very nice and not very good, but that was how I thought. And so that's not something that's compatible with success in network marketing, because you can't fire people, and you don't want to fire people. You don't want to rebuild team. You want to become successful at helping people change their lives, at helping people develop and grow, and finding ways where people aren't the problem anymore. Their decisions can contribute to the problem, but you still feel empowered to change yourself and sort of rise above the problems. And as you do that, you will have more success. All righty. I think I'm done with the first two sections, Chantal. Are these some questions that your team has asked?
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Justin. I think maybe one of the questions that I have heard from a number of young builders on the team is, how do I overcome my fear of not being enough? And not only not being enough, but I often think that it stems from a fear of stepping out and sharing something with conviction because of that fear of what are others going to think about me?
Mm-hmm. I definitely had that fear in the beginning, and I talked to a coach, and as this coach sort of diagnosed me as being preoccupied with what other people were thinking, she told me, what other people think is none of your business. It's just none of your business. They are going to think what they are going to think. You can't control it. All you can do is control yourself. And have you seen the circles from Stephen R. Covey, his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? He talks about having all of us in our life, we have a circle of influence, which is everything within that circle around us is influenced by us, and things that are outside that circle are outside of our influence. So we all have a circle of influence, and we also have a circle of concern, things that we're worried about or things that we are concerned about. So I was concerned with how other people perceived me, with what they were thinking. I was concerned about that. But that was not within my circle of influence. It was within my circle of concern, but not within my circle of influence. So that means my circle of concern was larger than my circle of influence. And that book teaches that if you have a circle of concern that's very, very large, but a circle of influence that's very small, then you're going to be frustrated and you're going to be stopped. Because you're worried about all kinds of things that you don't influence.
That's powerful. Wow. Well, I think that makes a lot of sense, Justin. I really appreciate that analogy, and that's a good tip for anybody who has not read that book, to put that one down on your list of must-reads for sure.
Yep.
Go into that in more depth. One of the things that we were going to kind of focus on tonight was this concept of your why. We hear that so much in doTERRA language. I think a lot of times people almost struggle with understanding that concept initially. Maybe you could share with us just a little bit about some of the questions with some of the key elements that go into discovering our why and how to get real with that.
Sure. In everyday life, we never hardly touch on this why. We get married, we have jobs, we have children, and everybody pretty much around us is kind of doing the same thing. And there's not really this overriding purpose or this sense of creating a legacy or doing something that requires a movement and a large group of people. It's just not common. And so I totally get why people can say, why do we need a why, and why is it so important? So, in a sense, in order to be successful in doTERRA, you are creating a movement, and you are initiating or founding a tribe. So there's books on that subject, but basically you're creating a group of people who dig you, and they dig where you're going. They dig what you're doing in your life. They agree with it. It is basically where they're going to, and they agree to go with you. The happiest, the leaders who have the most peace and the most happiness are the ones who are united with their builders in your causes. And sometimes causes or motivations seem disparate. They don't seem like they jive with each other, or they're kind of weird and different. But if you try hard enough, you can see how what motivates you is similar to what motivates other people. And you can build bridges and you can go places together. Now, unfortunately, with the way our educational system is, and really in the cycle of humanity that we're in, we have a vast number of people who are distracted by entertainment to the point where they don't even know what motivates them. They don't know what they care about. And sadly, they don't know how to dream. They knew when they were little kids, but they've forgotten. Dreaming is painful when you don't get your dream. And so a lot of people have stopped dreaming. And when we're talking about a why is based or built on and around what you want to accomplish in your life, what you want them to talk about at your funeral, what you want your legacy to be, what you want to be known for, what you want to see happen in the world, and what problems you see that need to be fixed. That is your why, or it's based on that. It becomes a reason to do the business when you see that building a doTERRA business accomplishes that other motivating force. And it's so important because there are easier ways of paying the bills. There are much easier ways of paying the bills. And if you're already paying your bills with some other way, just having more money is not very motivating for most people. You need to be thinking about, what else do you want to do? What else do you want to accomplish? What else do you want to be known for? Because just paying the bills or having enough money to pay bigger bills to live a nicer life is not motivating enough, because it's too easy to pay those bills some other way. You need to dream a little about what you want your life to stand for and what you want to have your children be proud of you for. Once you dream about that, imagine that, then you're touching on some of your deepest motivations, and connect those motivations to something that can be done in the world. And it's very different for everybody. But doTERRA's mission, in terms of bringing health and wellness to people through natural products based in essential oils, it dovetails very nicely with most good causes in the world, most good things that you want to have happen. You just have to connect your motivations to those causes, and then start talking about that and start working. So much of success is learning good things about yourself and convincing yourself that they're true, and then every day living that new reality, these new things that you've learned about yourself. You'll be tempted to slip into the old way of thinking. And so it's every day you have to reconvince yourself of the new way of thinking about yourself, about your life, these new beliefs that you have. And as you do that, some of the things you're going to deal with are what Chantal brought up, like not believing that you're enough. And there's just specific things that you can work on and do to not be to decrease the power of those beliefs. For those of you who specifically asked the question, how can I overcome my fears of not being enough? What I'd like you to do is write onto a large piece of paper, not one that's like large and square, but like wide and rectangle, so kind of like a banner, and hang it right on there. I am enough. And you can put more words on there, like I am enough to be a success in doTERRA, or I am enough to be a diamond. I am enough for success. And pay attention to the negative thoughts that you have, because turn them into a positive. Write them on this piece of paper, kind of like a banner, like a 2 or 3 inch tall by however wide it needs to be. Hang that on your bathroom mirror, where your spouse or partner or whatever can see it as well, and tell them what's happening so you stay on the same page. Tell them what you're working on. Hang that up there above your eye level, so at the top of the mirror. And every day and night, look up at that and repeat it a bunch of times. I did that a lot in the beginning, even before doTERRA. We learned from a guy named T. Harv Eker in a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, the importance of rewriting the way your brain is programmed in order to allow you to be successful. And it was so simple to just repeat those statements on the mirror. We even had some on a piece of paper, and we would put our hands on our heart and we would just read the piece of paper. It was like affirmations, and I can't remember all the other words that they call those things, manifestations, whatever. You read those out loud, and they change your brain. They change the way you see the world. It's very, very important. I had to do this in Portugal. This is not something that I just did in the beginning. There were challenges that I was not prepared for in Portugal. And so we had to actively go out of our way to change our brains more, to deal with everything that we were going through while we were over there. And it works. It allows you to change the way you think about life, which then completely changes your actions and behaviors in life, which allow more success in the new challenges to come your way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Wow, that's very powerful. I have been spending 8 months on the road traveling with my family, and one of the topics that we've shared on is discovering your unique family why. And I just want to bottle everything you just said, Justin, and take it back around and go for another round on the road, because that was so powerful. So thank you so much for that very concise and powerful and vivid imagery of how to find our why and how to begin to put it into place. I want to just go ahead and open up to everybody. We're going to do 2 more questions. So I'd like to gather one from those of you that are live tonight. If you want to ask a question on the chat, please feel free to do so. And while you're coming up with your questions on the chat, Justin, maybe you can give us what is one tip that you would recommend for just getting off the ground strong with this business? What one activity would you recommend that we step into and engage in order to become successful?
Well, doubt your doubts. Okay. So when you're having fears, never let yourself make a decision based on fear. If you decide to not do something, especially in the beginning, because you are afraid, if you decide to not do it because you're afraid, you are lowering the ceiling on your success, like a lot. Your success is found on the other side of your fears. I remember in the very beginning, there was I lived in Colorado, and there was a couple that the husband wanted to do doTERRA, and he was in Arizona, and my folks live in Arizona, and I was chatting on the phone to him. I said, I need to go visit my folks. I could come out and spend a day with you, and we could talk, and if you'd like, I can take you around, or you can take me around, and we'll talk to people. You set up appointments or not. We'll just walk into chiropractors and salons and physical therapists and massage therapists. We'll walk in, and you can see what I say, so then you can go do it if you want to. Now, what I never told him is that I had never gone and done that myself. I had never walked into these businesses. A lot of the businesses in Colorado Springs, my wife had already hit. And when I quit my job, we had a team, and I was still working on my warm market, and this guy did not want to work on his warm market, so he wanted to create a new warm market by going to people he didn't know. And I knew how to do that sort of in theory, but I'd never done it before, and I was terrified. But I told him, if you want to do that, I'll come do it with you. I'll do all the talking, and you do all the driving. So we did that. We walked into tons of businesses. We made tons of friends, and it was awesome. I so wanted to chicken out. I so wanted to not do that. And I made it. I survived. Most of the time, you have to ask yourself, especially in the beginning, you have lots and lots of reasons, to not do it. You have lots of reasons to not work hard, to not go crazy, basically, working doTERRA, to not do it a lot. You have lots of reasons. But you have to have some good reasons for doing it. And you need to be in touch with those good reasons for doing it. That's the only way you'll work through the inertia, because once you get moving, it's easier to keep it going than it is to start it moving. You have to just get over the inertia and get into momentum, get moving. So start strong. Starting strong is work through your fears. Whatever you're afraid of, do it. I have a person on my team who is a silver. They've been in for 7 years, and they have worked nonstop for those 7 years. And ever since the beginning, I spoke with this person, and I said, you know, you are a confident speaker, but your presentations could take some polish. And I felt like my presentations needed some polish, and so I went to Toastmasters, where they could polish the way I was speaking, my speeches, the way I was presenting. And I described to this person what a Toastmasters meeting was like, and this person had asked how did I improve my presentations, because they'd seen me, you know, a year before, and my presentations improved a lot. My stage presence improved a lot. And they said, "What did you do?" I said, "I went to Toastmasters, and I would really highly recommend that you do it." And this person made a terrified face and said, "I'm too afraid to do a Toastmasters thing and go speak in front of people." And they never did go, and they're still a silver 7 years later. And I just thought at the time how important it is to work through our fears. Your brain is telling you, you know, when you're afraid, because your brain wants to keep you comfortable. When you're feeling afraid, it's just your brain sort of complaining about you losing some of your comfort. And you have to tell your brain, it's okay, we're not going to die, and we're going to be uncomfortable for a little while, but then we're going to be comfortable doing those things that we're afraid of right now. We just have to move through it. And if you can do that, there's really no limit to where you can go. No limit whatsoever.
Wow. This has been so incredibly powerful. I think many of us on the call are on the edge of our seats and taking notes feverishly. So thank you so much, Justin. And it really is apparent that you've worked through, just think from the beginning of your story of not being able to take, you know, feeling like you couldn't take care of your kids, to where you are now, with thousands of people looking up to you and really appreciating, in a certain sense, a certain kind of fatherly advice and wisdom. It's pretty powerful. So thank you so much. One question that came over on the chat was just kind of pertained to that why. How narrow or specific do you think that why has to be in order for it to really grab your heart and be motivating? That was Coral Darrow asked that question.
Yeah, I read it when she typed it. I'm glad that you spoke it for everybody who's not seeing the chat. The answer, in my opinion, is really I don't think a why can be defined as being specific or narrow. A why, it matters to you, and that's all that matters. So even though it doesn't matter to anybody else that you know, or anybody else maybe on your continent, if it matters to you, it matters. If it's motivating to you, it's good enough. So it can be highly specific. I know someone in Colorado I spoke to earlier, where through her church, they sponsor this other church, like in some South American country. And in this church in South America, her family has sponsored one child. And part of her motivating factor in doTERRA is she wants to have a ton of money to help this one child. That's pretty specific and pretty narrow. It's motivating to her, so it's good enough. Mm-hmm. And as you grow, you'll probably be presented with wider opportunities than you can envision right now. And that's okay. If it's motivating to you right now and super specific, say it's, you know, help duck-billed platypuses in Australia and one particular river, that's great. If that motivates you, that's great. And so I think sometimes things are too big. Maybe they're too wide for someone to really believe that they can change it, or that they can affect the problem if it's super wide. So something more specific, it can be good, as long as it's motivating to you, as long as you can feel like what you did today moved you closer to that goal, moved you closer to that thing you wanted to accomplish. There's a trick too, while we're on this topic. If you have a why, and basically that is something that you wanted to accomplish, let's call it a goal, something kind of, out there, some motivating force. If you have one, but nothing's really changed, you haven't really done anything different, or it doesn't seem powerful enough, then let's just add some power to that why and do this. Take a raw egg and take a Sharpie and write your why or your goal on that raw egg. Okay? So now the egg embodies that motivational thing you want to see or accomplish. Okay? It is the egg. All right? Now you have to keep the egg with you nonstop for as long as it lasts. And what you're going to find is you are going to be thinking about your why a lot more than if it was just written on your vision board or if it was written in a note in your phone. You're going to be thinking about it a lot. And what happens when you think about it is your whole life will arrange itself to allow you to accomplish that goal. What you think about, you get. And so this can be a closer goal, something that you want to accomplish that leads to your why, like in the future, or it can be something big, like, you want to, do humanitarian aid in Kenya, but you don't really know anything specific about that. It can be very ambiguous. Write that on the egg and you will move towards it, and it will become more specific, or steps will be presented that will get you to do that. And it can be your next rank in doTERRA, or it can be the thing that motivates you to do doTERRA. Put that on the egg, and your life will arrange itself so that the steps to get there will become apparent. Make sense?
That's awesome. Wow.
I see coral nod.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Well, thank you, Justin, so much for your insight this evening. This has been so powerful, and I'm very grateful. I know I've already got one of the kids scrambling to get an egg. So hopefully everybody else will join in that, and we'll have to report back on how our eggs are surviving. Thank you, Justin, again, for taking the time and pouring your heart out. And I just want to encourage everybody else, if you would like to stay on a little bit, you can. And we're going to do our giveaways and our drawings here now. And lastly, I just really encourage you to take a minute and jot down your thoughts from this call and share it with a friend or share it with an upline, some really concrete takeaway that you want to put into practice or put into place that just really struck you, so that we don't leave this call going, oh, wow, that was really great. I was inspired for a minute, but really taking something away and putting it into action. So Justin, again, thank you again. And we look forward to reporting back with updates from Team Revolution here, and hope that we can just make you proud in that we take your advice and put it into practice. So thanks again.
You bet. Thank you for the invitation.
You bet. Awesome. All right. So next week we have an amazing presenter as well to piggyback on what Justin just shared with us. We have the opportunity to hear from Eric Larson. He is a double presidential diamond, or at least I don't even know if that's his rank may even exceed that. I'm not sure, but he was one of the people that first kind of triggered this idea for me when I was able to speak with him down on the beach in Dominican Republic, and to know that these leaders are willing to come and spend their time and give their attention to a small team. It's just really motivating and moving. So I hope that you will each make a renewed effort to invite people next week to the call. And hopefully this is going to just be a springboard to a lot of powerful creative action. So with no further ado, I want to announce tonight's winners for our 3 giveaways tonight, and I think you guys will appreciate these. The first giveaway I have here is a moisturizing body wash that doTERRA no longer offers, and it has spearmint, carrot seed, and rosemary. Now, I've been collecting these items over the course of the last couple years specifically to be as special rewards for the team. So this is really precious to me. If you had any idea how long I've been hanging on to this specific body wash for you all, you would really laugh. So this moisturizing body wash goes to Sandy Dietrich. Woohoo! Thank you, Sandy, for your fidelity in working with us and being on the call. I'm very excited for you to have this little treat. The next giveaway that I have is the Aroma Fire. It's a little diffuser, and hopefully you all can see it here. It's a little purple spa room diffuser. And so this is a great little giveaway. And I recommend that you use these as great incentives for having people host classes. You can get these fairly inexpensively, and you can just use these as a great motivation. If somebody says, you're looking to get some new hostesses excited about hosting classes, you might offer something as simple as that, because I don't know about you, but I would host a class for a diffuser. So think of things that motivate you. So, all right. So this one goes to Francine. Woohoo! I'm so excited for you. Make sure I have your information, Francine, so I can send that to you. I'm very excited. And I want to hear afterwards a little bit about your story and how you came to join us tonight. So maybe you can stay on after and share a little bit about that. And then lastly, I have a 5 ml of Deep Blue. And this is just, of course, one of our most favorite oils. And so I just want to make sure that you all have ample opportunities to try new oils and explore new oils. So if you haven't had an experience with Deep Blue, then you really need to make sure that one is in your possession. And this one goes to Barbara Baker. Wonderful. Barbara, thank you so much for being on. Make sure you stay on afterwards and share with us a little bit about, I think you probably have an experience with Deep Blue, but I think that you will appreciate having that perhaps as another tool to share and sample with all those that are out there in the stressful world of stenography. So nothing like having some Deep Blue on the back of your neck. That's what Barbara does. So awesome, wonderful. So at this point, I just want to open it up. If you want to linger, you can. And if not, we will look forward to having you join us next week. And thank you again so much, Justin, for being on. And we'll all reunite again next week with Eric Larson. Thanks again. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.